when we one of the times we played, when I was in Buffalo, we played in Green Bay, and Brett said it was the game that we were there was the coldest game he ever played in Lambeau. I'm like, dude, seriously? Like that's the game. That's the game I get to play in Lambeau.
Yeah.
Is Brett's coldest game?
Well, was it cold?
Dude, it was pretty cold.
Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, and you're listening to the Brats and Beard Podcast.
Hello, tailgaters. Welcome back to the Brats and Beers podcast. We are excited to bring you another incredible interview guest today. We have a former Super Bowl champion quarterback that played 14 seasons in the NFL, with 9 of those being with the New England Patriots. He is a 4-time Pro Bowler, the 1994 NFL passing yards leader, and he played high school football and owns a winery in arguably the best named city in the U.S., Walla Walla, Washington. Everyone, please help me welcome Drew Bledsoe to the show.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a great intro, dude. That is a great intro. I know you're recording this. I might pirate that and just put that on the screen whenever I'm coming up. I love that shit.
Use it if you'd like. It took me about 4 hours to come up with it today. I was so nervous and proud.
I know you got one of those mirrors where it can say things. You can type things into it. Just have it run across like a banner every time you're brushing your teeth.
You know what? Seriously, every morning, that's right. I am.
I did that.
And God damn it, people like me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. To kind of start out, obviously with the NFL season kind of wrapping up here recently, do you still watch a lot of games? Like, are you still like a fan, or like, I guess what's your attention to the NFL right now?
You know what? Yeah, I do, and I still love it, and I love, and I've always loved watching quarterbacks, man. I grew up in the era of Marino and Elway and Jim Kelly and all of these guys. So I love watching quarterbacks, and so I'm really excited about the way the game has evolved, where it is very passing centric. It's like you can throw for a ton of yards. You can't touch the receivers, you can't touch the quarterbacks. So there's part of me like, okay, this is really awesome to watch, but I also find myself being super fucking jealous of the guys that get to play in this era where you don't get to touch them. I mean, if you call the quarterback a name when you run by, it's a flag and a fine, and you can't touch the receivers. And so I love watching it. I'm a huge fan. I'm a horrible gambler. Like this year, all-time worst ever gambler on pro football, but I'm just kind of a little bit jealous, man. When if you get to play quarterback and nobody ever gets to touch you, dude, that's kind of that seems like cheating.
That's funny, because that was my next question, was do you think the game has gotten soft? But you just answered that.
So I'll give you an honest answer to that question. So an honest answer to that question: no, the game is not soft. It's still the biggest, baddest dudes on the planet that are playing this game. The changes that they've made at every level are super important for the future of the game. Because, I remember my brother and I would talk back in the day, like, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. Like, dude, somebody's going to die. Like there's going to be somebody's going to die on the field in a collision because guys are getting faster, stronger, bigger at the same time. And you just apply the physics to that, dude, it's going to be a problem. And so the changes that they've made in football across the board, from youth football all the way through the NFL, are entirely positive. But it is a different game. It's a different game. John Lynch is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If John Lynch had to play under these rules, that he would have been playing for free. He hit people too hard.
For sure.
But it's entirely positive and super necessary. But it's definitely a different game, and it's a little softer for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have obviously, like, you've had your fair shares of like injuries and things that have happened? How many like concussions do you think that you actually had throughout your playing career?
Shit, I can't remember.
Great answer. Great answer.
No, well, I mean, the truth was, and I think everybody that played for a while knows this, that back in the day, there were a whole bunch of guys that were concussed every game, and you just played. You were quote unquote dinged. Yeah. was the term back in the day. You didn't have a concussion. You were just dinged. But the funny thing for me, I had a really interesting phenomenon. It was finally diagnosed as a trauma-induced migraine, which is a concussion. But it would happen like once a year. I think my first time it ever happened to me was my sophomore year of college. And what would happen is if I got tackled, it wasn't like the hit. It was when my head hit the turf. And when that happened, it would get all kind of starry. And then I would lose the peripheral vision on the left side of my face for about 15 to 20 minutes. And so the first time it happened, I was like, God, that's weird, but then it happened enough. It would happen, usually like once a year. So it got to the point where I would have a plan with our offensive coordinator. We're like, all right, look, this is probably going to happen at some point. What I need you to do is, first of all, run the ball because I can't see this half of the field. But second, I need you to call plays where I start looking to the left, because if I look to the left, then I can peripherally see everything over here. If I look to the right, now all of a sudden I'm blind to 66% of the field. So we would do that. That actually happened in Minnesota. I was playing for the Bills. In Minnesota, that happened. And I told Kevin Gilbride, who was our coordinator, like, hey, man, I just got hit. I'm not quite right. Can we run it for a little bit? He goes, no, I think we're just going to throw it. So we came out and we started chucking it, and we ended up winning that game in overtime. And I think even with all Josh Allen's success, I think that's still the single game passing record for the Buffalo Bills. And I couldn't see half of the fucking field the whole time I was out there. Dude, I should have played blind the rest of my career.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. So on this podcast, Drew, we don't really talk people up or anything. So I don't want you to feel too good. But at what point in your life did you know you were going to play in the NFL? Was that freshman in high school where you're like, I fucking got this shit? Or was it at college where you learned that?
So it's an interesting question, man. And I'll actually be honest with you on this. And this is something I don't know if I've ever said in an interview, because that's actually it's a really cool question. So when I was, first of all, when I was in middle school, if you guys saw me, you're like, yeah, no, that dude, hopefully he's really good at school. I hope he's good at math, and he's is he going to be an accountant someday? I grew really fast. It was really gangly and just, but then I went to a football camp. I was going into my sophomore year of high school, and there were some pros there. There was, Neil Lomax was there. I think, the camp I'd gone to it for a bunch of years. But I got up and we're doing the pros were doing this demo thing at the end of camp, and Lomax is throwing, and I'm 15, and I'm throwing, and he throws, and I throw, and Lomax actually told me to go sit down, because I was actually throwing it harder than he was, and so for me at that point, I was like, oh shit. That's Neil Lomax. He was a Pro Bowler a couple times and great guy. I love Neil to death, and he's still a good friend. But at that point, I was like, oh, okay. Well, in terms of just throwing it hard, I'm already there, and I was like a 15-year-old, and that's really when it first occurred to me. I was like, oh, maybe this could be a thing. And then when I got to Washington State, I became the starter halfway through my freshman year. And at the end of my freshman year of college, still an 18-year-old at that point, Mel Kiper went on ESPN and said I was going to be the number one overall draft pick in 3 years. Which, it was awesome, obviously. Dude, who doesn't want to hear that?
Right.
But it was also kind of shitty because then it was the question I had to answer every time I did an interview for the rest of my 2 years at Washington State. It was like, hey, are you going to stay? Are you going to go? And I'm like, dude, leave me alone. I'm just trying to win a game.
You were one of two that, right? True freshman quarterbacks at Washington State.
Yeah, well, yeah, the kid that played this year, he was the first one to actually start the first game. But of course, that's with that's COVID, man. It doesn't count.
Oh, sure.
I'm with you.
It doesn't count. Nope.
Yeah.
And by the way, as we're talking about like COVID and records that have an asterisk next to them, dude, I watched the Bills play this year, and I'm a super huge Buffalo Bills fan. I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. But, dude, that dude took down my single season passing record this year. I watched him play in Buffalo in November, and he's in shirt sleeves. Like he's out there with his shirt off in November. Like that doesn't count, dude. In November in Buffalo, you're supposed to play in driving drizzle that's blowing 40 miles an hour off the lake, and so I don't think that record counts. I think I
thought he was Matt Stafford.
By the way, so we should talk about Matt Stafford. That dude, I am so excited for him to play for a good team finally. Dude, that guy's been an amazing quarterback for so long.
Oh my God, I'm so mad at you.
I'm just telling you, dude. I'm sorry, dude. It's just the proof's in the pudding, man. The evidence is out there, dude. He has been an amazing quarterback for so long.
Marvin Jones isn't good.
Well, I will tell you though, if it sounds like you're a bit of a Lions fan.
No, I'm not.
He's a Vikings fan. That's even worse.
Yeah, we'll talk that later.
I don't know why you'd want Matt Stafford.
I'd rather have Matt Stafford than Jared Goff.
I would rather have Drew Bledsoe right now over Matt Stafford.
Well, dude, I've been drinking a little bit today, so dude, you probably don't want me right now. But maybe tomorrow afternoon, I'll be buttoned up tomorrow afternoon.
Drew, also, any one of us here would take Matt Stafford over Kirk Cousins, so you shouldn't be tripping over there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No, keep going.
Yes. No, he said it. He said it.
No comment.
That's pretty interesting.
I didn't say anything.
That's interesting.
I didn't say anything.
To hear it from a true quarterback is a lot different than hearing it from other people.
We got to go back a couple statements ago when you said you're still kind of a Bills fan. So weren't you kind of sour after you left the Bills and went to Dallas? Wasn't that kind of did you mend that at any point?
Yeah, no, but see, so there's a difference there between how you feel about the decision the organization made versus what you felt in the town and the city and from the fan base. Now, yeah, they obviously made a bad decision but that I don't disagree with, or that I disagree with, and I think that anybody that looks back on it would as well. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't change my huge affection for that place and that fan base and what that whole organization means. It was such a unique place to play, man. It was so cool, man. I remember, and first of all, when you go to Buffalo, you think that you're going to the end of the earth. Like you're being exiled. It's like you're going to Siberia, right? Like, the only way you end up in Buffalo is if you really screwed up and pissed off some oligarch in Russia. But when you get there, the fans are so loyal. They treat you so well. My favorite story is the week before the season opener. We're playing against the Jets. I drove in early on Wednesday morning, and as I walked into the building, I asked the equipment guys, "It's like, hey, what's going on? Is there like an RV show? What are they doing?" They're like, "No, those people are tailgating." Like Wednesday, they would get there Tuesday night to tailgate for a Sunday game. I mean, you talk about fucking loyalty, man. These people were serious about it, and it was a really, really cool place to play. And so, it's the right question, but you separate, how you feel about the decision that your organization made from how you feel about the fan base and the team and the organization as a whole, and that's it's like the Patriots, dude. I love Robert Kraft. I love going back to New England. They obviously fucked up, when they played that kid out of Michigan over me when I got healthy, because he went on to be a colossal failure. But even though Tom Brady has been nothing but a failure in the rest of his life, I still like that organization.
He has lost more Super Bowls than you.
That's true. That's true. He's also thrown a lot more Super Bowl interceptions than I have.
Yeah.
He's been sacked more in Super Bowls than I have.
Yeah.
No, it's been a real train wreck for him ever since I left, and he no longer had his real mentor, his sensei. It's been a real train wreck for him ever since then.
All right, I don't want to talk about Tom Brady, but was there any indication early on that he has the skill level that he has?
No. I'll answer this honestly. I won't be an asshole. The thing that Tom had then that he still has now that I think, there's a couple of things that actually really do make him unique. He was a guy back then that just decided he was going to outwork everybody else. Like, he literally was going to outwork everybody else, and he's still done that. Now he's made that into a company, this TB12 thing. And he was an absolute sponge for information. He was in my hip pocket and was asking me questions at an annoying level. But he was just, he was a guy that was just, he was so laser focused, and still is to this day, apparently, laser focused on seeing how good he could be at playing football. That I felt like he was going to be around for a long time. I did not feel like, based on watching his talent level, I did not feel like he would probably ever be an NFL starter. And I'm on the record. This is not like breaking news. I'm on the record with this.
Right.
And I don't think anybody else thought that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fallen to the 6th round, right?
Yeah.
And then certainly didn't think that he would go on to be, what he's become. But he's also he's a guy that he's sort of one of those natural leader kind of guys that people gravitate to. And even when he was on practice squad and running scout team, that scout team was they were getting after it, and he was leading them, and he was treating every scout team rep like it was a rep of the Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, 7 Super Bowls, and and just like all of that stuff. Nobody's ever predicting that, certainly. But I did feel like he was probably going to be around for a long time, because he was just one of those guys. And I'll stop talking in a second, but a lot of what people don't realize, and this is why teams miss on quarterbacks so much, is that the physical attributes above a certain plateau, right? Okay, you got to be able to throw the ball this far, you got to be this accurate. The physical attributes don't make up very much of that equation. I mean, shit, Joe Montana, come on, dude, 6'2", 185, couldn't throw it 50 yards, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Peyton, who's going into the Hall of Fame now, at the end of his career, when he won his last Super Bowl, I know John Elway was up in the booth saying, I can throw it better than that guy, right? And John Elway was pushing 60. And he's like, I can throw it better than Peyton can right now. But the physical attributes are a much smaller piece of the equation than people would think when it comes to playing quarterback. It's about leadership. It's about accountability. It's about intelligence. It's about anticipation. It's about seeing the future. It's about understanding, the big picture of everything. And that part is and that's what Tommy is. He's never going to be the most physically gifted dude, in any NFL room with a bunch of quarterbacks. He's a lot of times he's going to be the least gifted dude physically. If you put all 32 up, he might be the least physically gifted of the 32, but he's the guy that's won the most championships.
Giselle said the same thing.
I was going to say my vote's for you because you're on this podcast and he's not. So
there you go. Right.
Enough about Brady. I got a real question though.
Yeah,
so
for real.
I'm as petty as the next guy. So you move on from New England, you go to Buffalo, and then you have what I remember more of a career year, like 4,300 passing yards and a Pro Bowl appearance. Did that feel in that moment in time? Did that feel good? Like kind of like a hey, fuck you.
Oh no, there's no question. I mean, come on, dude. Like anybody that's ever been fired, you want to go back and kill your old company. There's no question. And you know, I'm fundamentally competitive, and you know, anybody that leaves one team, goes to another team, and then comes back and says, "Oh no, it's just another game." They're completely fucking lying to you. It's not that. You know, you really want to kill them. You know, and I really, you know, I mean, I wanted to win a championship in Buffalo. I wanted to win a championship with the Cowboys. And you know, there's a fundamental piece of that. They're like, yeah, no, I want to stick it to them. You know, I want to show them. I mean, that's just shit. We're all competitive people. And you know, and of course, you know, and Tommy has been, I haven't seen any like the interviews after the Super Bowl. I know he's been completely classy about everything because that's how he does everything. But we all know what that is, right? You know, you win that championship and you're like, hey, Belichick, how you like me now? I mean, you know, I mean, that's, but he doesn't have to say it because he won. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's
fucking
no,
bullshit.
that's a natural thing. Yeah, no, it's a natural thing. And I, you know, and like the truth is, you know, my first year in Dallas, I should have gone to the Pro Bowl in Dallas my first year down there. But, you know, didn't get voted in. But I was like, okay, well, you know, if I leave New England and then go to Pro Bowl in Buffalo and then go Pro Bowl in Dallas, you know, when I retired though, the day that I retired, this is true story. The day that I retired, I held the single season passing records for 3 franchises. For New England, Buffalo, and Dallas.
Nice.
So
that's impressive.
but yeah,
Good job.
I don't put that out there. But no, you're spot on though. It's like hey, we're all competitive. And shit, now I'm in the wine business, and I love all wine, but I want ours to be the best.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, that's how you work.
What team did you hate like playing against the most, and why was it the Jets?
That's a perfect question. The Jets. Everything was hateable about the Jets. Like they got shitty colors. You know, green and white. That's boring. They had the worst fans. I mean, the fans. So my rookie year, we went down to go play the Jets. We came out in the old Meadowlands, and they booed us when we came out. And then when the Jets came out, they booed them louder. So they booed the Jets in pregame. So, I mean, just fundamentally awful fans. And then, I don't know, they were never very good. And then of course, Mo Lewis ended my tenure in New England. So you add that to the pile.
Drew, Mo Lewis, Mo problems, right?
Dude, that's a terrible joke, dude.
I told him that pre-podcast. I'm going to be honest. I told him that. I said, don't fucking pull that.
Yeah, dude.
And once I heard him yelling your name, I said, oh, fuck, here we go.
No,
I heard it coming.
That's terrible. That's a bad dad joke. Are you a dad, Drew?
Soon to be.
Dude, hey, you know what? I'm about to be. And is your daughter's name Haley or Healy?
Healy.
That is very unique, and I like that. Some people don't, but I do.
Drew, are you naming your daughter Healy? Are you telling us right now?
Healy Hackenmiller. I don't know. What up? What up?
Oh, wow.
I like that actually.
That actually is nice. I think you should do it.
It's worked out pretty well. She actually just got into college. She's going to Colorado College. She's gonna play basketball and lacrosse at Colorado College. So
nice.
It served
Not
her
going
well.
to Washington State?
No, she couldn't pass the mirror test to get into Washington State. You guys know the mirror test, right? To get into Washington State, they hold the mirror under your nose, and if the mirror fogs up, you get in. That's how Washington State works. Colorado College actually has like a real entrance policy, so she had to work pretty hard to get that, and she got it done. So we're pretty proud of her.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That is too funny.
Appreciate it.
So Drew, what's your favorite memory from playing? I'm sure there's so many, but like, do you have anything that really sticks out to you?
You know, so the first answer that jumps out when you ask that question, and I think this is the same for a lot of guys, I just love being in the locker room. like just being in a locker room with it. You know, I'm a small town kid from the middle of nowhere, southeastern Washington, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by a bunch of guys from all different walks of life, man. Guys from the Southern California, guys from the inner city, and everything in between. And being in that locker room as a young kid with all these dudes, and starting to kind of learn and listen and like experience how other people live their lives and what their life experience was, man, that was just the coolest thing, man. It was, and it's honestly, it's one of the reasons that I'm so glad that the NFL actually found a way to play this year. Cause I just think it's a model for how society should be. Like, hey, look, you go sit down and you got a whole bunch of people from all different walks of life. We're not all the same, you know, we're not trying to pretend we're all the same. We're all different. But I want to learn from you. You want to learn from me. I want to respect what you grew up with. You respect what I grew up with, and then learn from each other. And then you learn how to coexist and you learn how to work together towards something. It was fucking awesome, man. I mean, it was really cool, man. I've got great friends, that I played with that, I mean, I grew up in Walla Walla, Washington. At our house, I know we had a house key, but I never knew where it was. Like, we would go on vacation and we wouldn't lock our house, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to Bruce Armstrong, like, dude, what was it like growing up? He's like, dude, it was terrifying, man. There was bullets flying everywhere. And, you know, I couldn't go outside after dark. I'm like, man, that sounds awful. And he goes, yeah, no, but it made me who I am. And, you know, and now I respect it. He goes, I like your life a lot better, but, you know, but it was a really cool thing, man. That social experiment of being in an NFL locker room, you know, really should be a model that's looked at more in depth.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we had one of our listeners, Cam. So shout out to Cam for submitting this question, but he wanted you to elaborate on a story that he had heard, that you were supposed to be in the role that Brett Favre ended up getting in There's Something About Mary, and you weren't able to accept it because you injured your neck, diving into a mosh pit at an Everclear concert. So can you tell us if that's true and elaborate on that, please?
All right. Yeah, no, I'll tell the story. So the real story was, so the Farrelly brothers did Something About Mary, and they're Boston guys. They the first pick for Favre's part in that show, Cameron Diaz was a Niners fan, so she wanted Steve Young. And like, oh yeah, we'll call Steve Young. And Steve is like, well, it doesn't really fit. Doesn't really fit for the Mormon boy to be in that movie. Well, next, the Farrelly brothers are Boston guys, so they called me. And there are two reasons I didn't take it. One was it was in the summer. I was in Montana, and during that time in my career, you know, when I had that downtime in Montana, I didn't leave for anything. Like, there was not even a number that I would leave for. My agent was under orders, and like, hey, don't even call me. But he called me about that movie. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going. But I also was still sort of suffering, and I'm really glad it didn't happen in this day and age. Now, actually, it might have been better if it was this day and age, because people would have known it wasn't that bad. But went to an Everclear concert at the Paradise nightclub in downtown Boston. And Everclear, if you don't know Everclear, go look at Everclear. Great grunge band from the mid '90s. Just some great songs, and one of my favorite bands. We went out. We had just had our first kid, and I hadn't been out with the boys in 2 months. Like, I literally had. I've been like a good soldier. I was home. I was changing diapers. I was doing all this shit. Like, all right, we're gonna go out. It's Thursday night. We're gonna go see Everclear at the Paradise, and so maybe had a couple too many cocktails. But the way that it all went down was I told Max Lane, I was like, hey, Max, you got to go up on stage. And if you go up on stage, I'll give you a couple $100 or whatever, I know whatever it was. And so Max goes up on stage, and he comes back and says, hey, give me my money. I'm like, no, dude, I said you had to stage dive. You got to go back up. So Max goes back up, and he's 320 pounds. He goes up and jumps off the stage, which was a bad idea. And so then they start calling for me to come stage dive. And I'm like, okay, well, I've had enough drinks. I'm going to go stage dive. And
Who was they? Was that Everclear that was calling for you, like the band themselves?
It was the crowd. And then,
Okay.
and then Art Alexakis, who was the lead singer, he waves at me, and I come up, and then unfortunately, a girl got kind of hurt, and yeah, she survived. She was fine. But I think once she figured out that it was me that went off the stage, all of a sudden her neck hurt quite a bit more, and so it was a pretty big lawsuit. But the shitty thing was, honestly, like in retrospect, now if I could do it over again with all the repercussions, like no, wouldn't have done it. It was still pretty fucking awesome. But the crappy thing was that okay, so this was a night out in Boston, and it wasn't treated like a little thing. It was the front page of the paper for 6 days, like the Boston Globe, Boston Herald, not the front page of the sports section, not in the society column. It was the front page of the friggin' paper. I'm like, dude, come on, man. I mean, at that point I was 24 years old. And going out and just so anyway, wow. I'm glad a lot of my NFL, I was a pretty good boy for the most part, but I'm glad most of my NFL life occurred before everybody had a camera in their pocket and before social media and all that stuff. I can't imagine what these guys, they can't do shit now. I mean, dude, it's kind of tough.
Right. Yeah. Dude, if it was 1993, first round, what team do you want to go to that's not the Patriots? Is it the Seahawks? Are you a Seahawks fan?
So remember, I'm pretty old. So growing up in the Northwest, this was back in, you had network television. So you got to watch like 2 games in the morning and 2 games in the afternoon, and then you had Monday Night Football. And you always watched your regional team. So I watched the Seahawks growing up, whether they were good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And I also was I'm a small town kid, man, in Boston. Geez, man, the first time, well, actually, I guess the second time I was ever on an airplane that went, to the East Coast was at the draft. Like, I'd never been there, so it was so foreign to me. And so I did want to stay close to home. I really did. I thought I wanted to play for the Seahawks. I'm really glad that didn't happen. It was such a cool experience being in Boston and being a part of that. But if you ask me, like, just prior to the draft, I actually had the conversation with my agent, like, hey, is there any way that we can, drop to 2 and go to the Seahawks? But the other one, and this you'll like this. So, but prior to the draft, there were like 4 or 5 teams that were kind of in the mix. So it's the Patriots, Seahawks, they had the top 2 draft picks. The Chiefs were in the mix somehow. I don't remember exactly how. And then the Raiders. The Raiders had made noise about wanting to get like this big, pocket passer. And so I went and did this trading card shoot on the beach in down in LA. And so we had all 4 jerseys. We had the Patriots jersey, we had the Seahawks jersey, we had the Chiefs jersey, and we had the Raiders jersey. And I knew Fred Biletnikoff growing up, so I kind of always had this Raiders thing in my heart. And when they had the 11 in silver and black with Bledsoe on the back, like, dude, this feels really cool. This feels really cool. And I tried to get them to let me keep the jersey. They wouldn't let me keep the jersey. I was so pissed. They're like, dude, that one would have been cool, man. Just the 11 silver and black Raiders and all that. It would have been really cool.
Just the look of it. So your middle name is McQueen. Is that correct?
Middle name is McQueen.
Is that after Steve McQueen, or what is that? No, what's that from?
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's that story would be cool, but the real story is actually might actually even be cooler because it's an old family name. The oldest generation that I knew that had the middle name McQueen was my great grandfather Albert McQueen Bledsoe, and he was Rear Admiral of the Navy in World War II. Was actually in charge of the Allied occupation of Tokyo Harbor after the war. He was like right below like MacArthur and Nimitz and all those guys that we know from World War II. He was their guy right below that.
That's
So
awesome.
it was kind of cool, man. It's cool to carry that military heritage in our family.
That is cool. That's awesome. So after a special incident in 2018, did you and Terry Rozier become best friends because of the whole Eric Bledsoe incident?
Dude, that was so funny, man. That was so crazy. It was I actually got the real story behind this whole thing. So what happened was they were getting ready to play the Bucks, and Terry Rozier was with some of his buddies the night before, and they were talking about Eric Bledsoe, and his buddies were talking about me. They're talking about Drew Bledsoe. Well, he didn't know who the fuck I was. Like, he was too young. He didn't even know who, like, Drew Bledsoe. Who the fuck? Like, you don't know Drew Bledsoe? You play in Boston? You know, like, just, and so they were talking about, you know, me. So when he went to he went to the press conference, he actually made a legitimate mistake. And instead of calling my cousin Eric, instead of calling him Eric, he called him Drew Bledsoe. It's an honest mistake. And then it became this thing. And so I went out for a game, and Whit Grossbeck, who owns the Celtics, you know, brought me down. We sat down there, and you know, we did that. And then I brought out the Terry Rozier jersey, and you know, did the whole thing. I need to reconnect with him, though, because I think when he retires, I think we should do a Terry Rozier.
Oh,
That's sweet.
Launch that in Boston. I think it'd be pretty good.
that's a great idea. Yeah, that was hilarious because, like, obviously we're Bucks fans, at least Cody and I are. So when he did that, it was kind of funny, and it seemed like it was an honest mistake at the time. But then he showed up wearing your jersey the next day, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Like,
yeah,
it was
it became a thing, you know, which was funny. And I actually reached out to Eric, like, "Hey, dude, let me send you some wine, man. This is not a personal thing, man. It was just kind of funny, right?" And he responded, but then he never sent me his address, so he doesn't get any wine. Maybe he doesn't like wine. I don't know. All the NBA guys seem like they like wine, so I'm thinking my cousin Eric should reach back out, and I can send him some booze.
I feel like that's like an ex-athlete thing. I feel like a lot of these professional athletes go on to the wine yard. Why is that?
It's an interesting question, and honestly, when we first started the business, it was something that worked against us. Because a lot of guys went in and like, "Oh, I'm just going to put my name on a wine," and they weren't really serious about what was in the bottle. And so when we launched Doubleback, we wanted to make sure that people knew that this was not a passing interest. This was not a hobby. It wasn't an endorsement. Like, we actually got out in the vineyard and planted vines ourselves. Like, we're out there with the kids, and, you know, like, it was a really serious project. So we had to overcome that stigma a little bit. Now, the good thing is that over the past, you know, 15, 16, 17 years, the athletes that are getting into wine now are actually really serious about it. You know, my buddy Rick Meyer, we were drafted together in '93. He has a really serious wine project in Napa, and it's great juice, right? Damon Heward, who I played with in New England, he and Dan Marino partnered on a winery called Passing Time up here in Washington. And it's serious juice. Like, it's really good wine. And I know D Wade's making good wine. I actually understand. I haven't tried it, but I guess Yao Ming's wine in Napa is actually pretty damn good, right? So, like, people have gotten serious about actually making good wine now. But why guys choose that, I can only speak to myself. It's such an interesting business because it's so multifaceted. You're in land acquisition, so you're in real estate. Then you're a farmer, and then you have to figure out how to farm properly. Then you're into production. Then you're into marketing and brand building, and, you know, launching new products and doing all these things. It's a really multifaceted business, and you know, I think most successful athletes have some level of ADD, where just, you know, doing the same thing, you know, day after day is not very interesting. But in wine, it changes all the time, and you always have to adapt, overcome, solve a puzzle, put something together, and all of that. So I think for me, that was what was most appealing was, you know, how can you go start with a piece of dirt and then build a business around a piece of art that comes out of this dirt? and then you go take that to market. And it was that part's been really engaging, and it still is to this day. I mean, we're 14 years in. I feel like we're just now starting to figure it out.
That's awesome. Well, I've never been to the Northwest, so we're just going to show up one day at one of your wineries and come hang out with you if that's cool.
No, dude. No, appointment only.
Appointment
only.
You
gotta call ahead. You got to call ahead, make an appointment. But no, if you guys ever do make a trip out, come see us in Walla Walla. And I don't know if you guys are into girls or not, but you know, and I don't want to judge. You know, if you can bring your boyfriend, you can bring whatever you want, but bring your significant other and come to Walla Walla. Come to Walla Walla. It's like the most romantic thing you can ever do. You come out, it's like you drive around in the vineyards, you go downtown, there's great restaurants, great food, great wine, you know, all of this stuff. And it's, you guys being from the Midwest, man, it'll feel so familiar, but way cooler because you've got great wine, great food. It's a beautiful place, man. So, when everything settles down and we can actually start fucking traveling again, come see us. Bring somebody you want to impress and bring them to Walla Walla. We'll show you a great time.
All right, we'll do it.
Drew, I'm gonna try one more time real quick. So, do you like Mitch Hedberg? Do you know who Mitch Hedberg is?
Wait, yeah, no, I do. But why? Hold on. Why do I know?
Well, this one, he's like, I was talking to a wino once. He was eating grapes. I was like, dude, you gotta wait.
That's right. No, dude, he is brilliant. Dude, he's so funny, dude. Yeah.
Exactly, dude. That's all I had in my wine section on my notes.
God, you're funny.
That's fucking awesome.
I do have one football related question, one last one. So Drew, if you don't know, Drew, our podcast mate here. He's a huge Vikings fan. And I know that you have had set two records with most, or maybe three records, most pass attempts at 70, completions at 45, and then passing yards as a Bill in a single game at like 463 or something. But it was all against the Vikings. What's up with that?
I mean, it's not personal, man. I mean, you know, I mean, the Bledsoe name is English, you know. So I mean, I guess maybe there's some like deep ingrained hatred for all things Viking, maybe. But you know, I do feel bad for Warren Moon though, because Warren Moon, if you remember, so the greatest comeback in NFL playoff history was Warren Moon with the Houston Oilers against the Bills. Frank Reich brings him back from 35 down, and then for us, dude, they were killing us, man. We were so far down at halftime, and then we come back and beat Warren Moon.
I think it was 20-3?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was not. It was not very close at halftime. It wasn't looking good, and then Parcells finally decided to let the reins off and let me throw it around a little bit. Came back and won that game, and then we went on and won the next 6 and made the playoffs for the first time in a long time. But yeah, no, it's nothing personal with the Vikings, Drew. I mean, seriously, man, much love for Minnesota.
Yeah, whatever, man, whatever.
Yeah, no.
You brought up Bill Parcells. What was it like, Bill Belichick? Can you just tell us a little bit more? Like, he's a weird dude.
Oh, those guys?
He's a weird
dude.
No,
those guys. No, so Belichick he's a really, really interesting guy. And you know, we already covered the horrible decision he made choosing Tommy over me. But outside of that, he was an interesting guy to play for, and he was actually a really easy guy to play for, because it was just matter of fact. There was no emotion involved in anything. You just, you know, it's like just, you know, it was very robotic, and I think that's kind of how it comes across publicly. But as a player, it makes it pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't make it fun, but it makes it simple. But the crazy thing with Belichick, right after I'd retired and we launched our wine project, we went out and did this wine tasting at this wine bar that was close to the stadium. And Bill came over and he hung out at this wine deal. And all of a sudden, I got to see him outside of the office. And he's actually fun and funny and engaging, you know, but he somehow has this ability to, turn off any emotion, anything, outside of football when he's not in the football setting. Or when he's in the football setting, he's like, there's like Tommy told me one time we bumped into each other skiing one time, and Tommy's a shitty skier. Giselle's a much better skier. But I asked him, I was like, dude, has Bill lightened up at all over the years? And he goes, dude, I'm telling you, I think at this point they've been together for 17 years. He goes, dude, I'm telling you, Bill will walk by me in the hallway, and this is Tom fucking Brady, right? They've had the most successful run of anybody ever. He goes, Bill will walk by me in the hallway and ghost me. Like he'll walk by Tom and not say hi. Like they're not even say hi, but I think the reason, and it's going to be such an interesting thing to see if Belichick can rebuild in New England, because the thing that always has seemed like the magic to me is you've got a great owner in Robert Kraft, got a great quarterback in Tom Brady, that are both guys that are personable, they're leaders, they're just really people you want to be around all the time. And having those guys bracketed around Belichick allowed him to just be that guy. It'll be really interesting to see if he can rebuild. He's still going to have the great owner, but he's not going to have Tom, underneath him to supply the other part of that. It's going to be really interesting to see if he can rebuild, and I can't wait to watch and see if he can do it.
He had a season MVP in Cam Newton. He should have been able to do it then.
That's true. They also. I do feel bad for Cam, because I think Cam's a really good dude, man. I everything I've ever heard about him, I don't know him, but everything I've ever heard about him is he's a really good dude, great leader, guys love him. But he went into New England, and all of a sudden there were just no bullets in the gun. They just didn't have the stuff, And
they did have half their defense opt out of the season too, which doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly. And so and it's interesting because Tommy's not stupid. He's a smart guy. I do think that he saw, and part of the reason that he elected to make the move was that he saw what was on the horizon. It's like, man, we just don't have a lot of tools here in our toolbox. And especially, because he told Gronk to retire and then come back as a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
But I think Tom did see that thing looming on the horizon, that they just weren't going to have a lot of tools in their toolbox for him to work with. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if they can make a comeback. The other thing that's going to be really interesting, it looked like the Dolphins and the Bills are both going to be pretty damn good. And so the Patriots, one of the things that's been really beneficial for them is that their division has been so shitty for so long.
Yeah, they have to plan for 3 games.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I have 2 games at the end that I want to play with you here, but do you guys have any other questions that you guys got?
I got a ton of questions, but we can get to the game. I could talk to him for hours probably.
I just have one last one really quick. Just Ernie Adams, did you have a relationship with him?
Dude,
not like that. Like, did you guys get along?
No, dude, that's an amazing poll. Like, most people don't know Ernie Adams. So Ernie was he's like the secret spy in the background that's just always around the organization, and nobody knew what the hell he did. But he was Belichick's like eyes and ears. He would, as a player, like he would never talk to anybody. He would just kind of hang in the background. And I had no idea, but it turns out he's a brilliant person, like genius, I think, level dude. But his job was apparently just to kind of hang in the background and analyze everything with the organization. I had no idea how much power he had until there was one moment. We were playing the Chiefs, and we were it was like 4th and goal at the 1, late in the game. And we were on the sidelines. We were trying to decide whether we're going to kick the field goal, whether we're going to go for it, what play we're going to run. And so there were, a couple of plays to choose from. And I was like, yeah, I like both of those. Let's go either one. We'll make it work. And Belichick is on the phones, as we're in the huddle over there, and we're trying to decide which play to go with. And Belichick goes, Ernie, which one do you like? I didn't even know he was on the phones. Like I had no idea what this guy did. And Ernie goes, yeah, let's go with the play action. And so we ran the play action. We scored, touchdown. But so this guy, like, I'd never heard him even talk. And all of a sudden, when we're at this pivotal moment in the game, Belichick throws it to Ernie. Like, Ernie, what play do you like? I'm like, really? But he's one of those kind of shadowy figures that hangs in the background. I think he's also a really good dude. It's like one of those, when I went back after I was done playing, I chatted him up a little bit. He's super interesting, man. He's a great dude. But when you were playing, the coaches didn't get to talk to him. The players didn't get to talk to him. He only talked to Belichick.
So is he just like a football IQ kind of guy?
I think he had a business success before that. I need to go back and look at it. But I think he might have built some sort of like tech company and sold that, and then just decided as a hobby he wanted to go work.
That's
with
interesting.
Bill.
So all business.
Yeah. All business.
All right, well, let me do
All right, so what's the game, Sean?
So there's a rapid round of questions, just like some either ors and some like random ones I have in here. So beer or wine as you're drinking red wine? Do I
really have to answer?
No. Brats or burgers?
Oh, shit. I mean, generally burgers, but a great brat, come on.
Okay.
Right?
Can't beat it. Parcells or Belichick?
Belichick.
Okay. Getting sacked or throwing an interception?
Getting sacked 100 times out of 100. So I'll give you a little bit of color. So if I threw an interception, then I might have to go actually try to tackle somebody, and I'm not doing that.
All right, I got you. Well, you're drinking red wine. I was going to ask red or white wine, but I'm guessing red.
Yeah, I like them all. I like them all. But if I have to pick one, I'll go red.
Okay. Batman or Superman?
Oh, Superman for sure.
Superman. All right.
I point out to my daughter all the time, like, hey, you've never seen your dad and Superman in the same room, have you? You think that's a coincidence?
You are awesome. Dad.
Hey, Drew, just add that to your dad joke.
Will do. Write it down right now, man.
Yeah, it's an art form.
What's your favorite food?
It's steak.
Steak.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Typical alpha.
What's your dream place to travel, or like, what's your favorite place you've been?
Next trip's going to be Northern Italy, and then Croatia is the next trip that we haven't been to.
Okay.
We did take the family down to Costa Rica in December, and I actually am a pretty big Costa Rica fan. Nice. But don't tell anybody that.
You might be targeting the vineyards in Northern Italy, or what?
Business development, bud. It's a work trip.
There you go. Write it off.
Awesome.
What's your favorite Instagram or Twitter account that you follow?
Oh, dude. So I love Max Homa and what he's doing, making fun of other guys' golf swings. Dude, it's so classic, dude. He is so classic.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's
great.
What was your favorite part of playing an NFL game? I know you kind of touched on it before with like being in the locker room, but like from running out of the tunnel, like till the end of the game, what was your favorite part?
So when I was at the end of my career in down in Dallas, I realized, that I wasn't going to do this thing forever. And this was at the old Texas Stadium, man, like the shitty old stadium before they built Jerry World. But walking down the tunnel, I made it a point every time I was walking down that tunnel, I would find a rookie. And like a young kid who was just wide-eyed, like, dude, I can't believe it. And I would grab him by the back of the shoulder pads, and I would grab him, and I would say, dude, how fucking cool is this? We get to do this. And they're paying us. And they look at me like, oh yeah, Mr. Bledsoe, yeah. They're like, no, not Mr. Bledsoe. I'm your buddy. But it was just that moment where like, dude, we actually get to do this, and they're paying us for it, man. It was so fucking cool.
That's so cool. What's your favorite dinosaur?
The T-Rex.
T-Rex. All right. Favorite number? Oh, sorry.
By the way, I call my brother the T-Rex because his arms are too short to ever reach his wallet. He can never find his wallet. So my brother is the T-Rex.
I love it. Sean, I got to interrupt. We got one more game, Drew. Okay, here we go. We got 3 minutes left. The game is called QB or not QB. Okay, so it's either a quarterback that played with you or backed up behind you, or it's a winery guy who owns a winery. Okay, are you ready?
I'm scared.
All right, first one is Tony Romo.
Great ribs. They make great ribs at Tony Romo's.
Yeah, you got that one. What about Ollie Smith, quarterback or winery?
Wait, Keely Smith?
Ollie Smith.
Ollie Smith. That's got to be a winery. I don't know who that is.
Winery is correct. 2 for 2. All right, number 3, David Lowe.
David Lowe? Lowe?
Yeah, quarterback or winery?
Winery.
You were correct. 3 for 3. Number 4, Scott Zolak.
Racehorse. That's Zoe's claim to fame, by the way. There was a racehorse that was named Zolak that won a race at the racetrack.
4 for 4. Number 5, Michael Bishop.
He was sort of a quarterback.
5 for 5, Eric Arnold.
That's got to be a winery.
Damn it. 6 for 6, Shane Matthews.
Well, we never. God, I don't think we never played together. Did we play together? Yeah, I think we did play together. Yeah, no, he's definitely a quarterback.
7 for 7, Eric Levine.
Oh, winery.
8 for 8, Todd Philcox.
Todd Philcox was a quarterback, and God, I felt bad for him in the locker room.
We got 1 minute. Tom Canavan.
That's got to be a winery.
Damn, 10 for 10. This guy knows his football. You follow football.
Wait, let's go back to you guys. Why do we feel bad for that dude in the locker room? Is that a male joke?
Phil Cox, man.
Dude, I mean, really? Phil Cox? That's just like, God, it's just hard. That's hard. Life's hard. Life's hard in the locker room. Like, making fun of each other is the love language of the locker room. And if your name is Phil Cox, dude, that's got to be hard.
So this is a name thing.
Well, I think we're going to run out of time here in a second, but I appreciate you, Drew, so much for coming on. And we're going to come out to Walla Walla, Washington, man, to come hang out.
It's an honor. Thank you, Drew.
Come see us. We'll have fun.
Sounds good. Thank you, Drew. You have a great night.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
See ya.